Hello and welcome to another episode of Chop It Up. As you can see, I've rearranged my office space so you get to look at my kitchen.
Ooh, pancake syrup.
That's the menu for those of you that are going to blow the picture up. That's the menu for my favorite Chinese food restaurant right there.
Ooh.
This way I get to take advantage of some natural lighting instead of having to turn on all the lights.
Yeah.
Bear, you have anything to talk about this morning?
Well, interesting happened yesterday. I went to Saturday. I went to a funeral yesterday.
Oh no.
But I did run across a couple members of the Florida Restoration Commission, Florida Rights Restoration Committee, the FRRC, the Broward chapter.
And
they were,
those are the guys that are working towards restoring the rights of felons to vote, right?
correct.
Okay.
And they're offering a lot of funds so you got any guys in Broward that's trying to vote and that they don't have the money to pay their court costs and fees and stuff. They're offering funds for it. And so they're out there. So no excuse not to vote. If you're a felon, don't want to hear about but you don't have the money to pay the court costs because just you can look them up on Facebook. Anyway, they have several different chapters, but they have a Broward chapter. And I was speaking with them, and they were like, they just want to get the word out because they got like until October. I think the deadline is October the 9th to get the funds, and they'll go ahead and they'll pay your fees and get you all registered up and everything. You know, we had some interesting conversations about that.
That's right. We need you to get out there and vote because if not, we'll have guys like Rebus voting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I did. It's interesting because yesterday I went to the Big Ben Reentry Coalition meeting. They do it on Zoom right now, once a month, and they did a whole round table on Amendment 4. And one of the people, she talked about all the money that they've given out. She said it's been over $2 million in the state.
Yeah.
So there's no, like everybody else said on here, there's no reason to not go and take advantage of that.
Right.
And go and
Legally,
register to vote.
legally, if you're allowed to vote, there's nothing stopping you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So if you don't have the funds available, there are people out there with funds available, you know, and a lot of people probably don't know. So we're putting it out there. You or your loved ones or whatever, know how to want to vote and don't have the money to pay your court costs and fees and fines. There's help out there.
All
Yep.
right. Well, something interesting happened for me yesterday too. On my automatic news feed, the story came out that the Duval County prosecutors decided to dismiss their appeal on Jackie Lee Cogdell. Well, now he's grown up now, so I guess he goes by Jack Cogdell. And it's very interesting because the Cogdell case, Jackie Lee Cogdell, is the way it's burned into my memory, was a case that I cited in my appeal, in my pleading, when I was waiting to be resentenced and the state attempted to get my motion dismissed based on the fraud that is being committed by the Supreme Court of Florida. I used the Cogdell case because he was in a similar position to me. So his case was on appeal and his case was remanded back. So I was using his case basically, you know, to help further my pleading. And he was released, and based on the new posture of the Florida Supreme Court, the prosecutor was appealing his resentencing, trying to get him put back in prison on his older sentence. He'd already been resentenced, he'd already been let go, and they were trying to get it reversed and have him sent back. And yeah, so what I would like to do first is I would like to get into a little bit of the legal mechanics that go on, and then I'd like to give you my perspective. First, I'm gonna start with the facts, okay? The facts are this. The legal system is set up in tiers, like a wedding cake. The bottom.
Can we go over first, because most people don't know about the major court cases and how y'all got out with.
Well, okay, I got you. But first, I want to set up the landscape. That way they'll be able to put the pegs in the right holes. Okay, it might work out better this way. The legal system is set up like a wedding cake, with the bottom tier being the circuit courts. And there's a lot of circuit courts. That's why it's the bigger tier. And then above that, the next tier is the district courts of appeal, the DCAs, first district, second district, third district, fourth district, fifth district, you know. And then above that is the Florida Supreme Court. And then naturally above that is the United States Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Right. And when you are in a trial, that is the bottom tier. And every trial court, every trial judge has the discretion to act within the established parameters of the laws at the time of your case. But he has a great leeway on how he does that. Now, one trial judge on the 5th floor can view the law one way and act on it that way in his courtroom, and another trial judge on the 6th floor or the 5th floor or the 7th floor can have his own perspective, and that's in the same county, in the same courthouse. And it's likewise from county to county, Dade County judges, Broward County judges, Duval County judges, and that's the way it goes. Now, when there's a great disparity of opinion, then somebody's going to appeal to the next tier, and that tier may grant a decision that instructs the lower tier how to act, what to do in certain situations. And if not, and even if they do make that decision, then the prosecutor, the state, or the defendant, you know, the guy can appeal to the next tier, to the Florida Supreme Court. And then they may rule and tell the lower courts what to do. Because what happens is the Supreme Court of Florida will tell the DCA that they were wrong, and then the DCA will instruct the trial court to get in line with what the Supreme Court says. And that's how it works. Now, how we were granted our appeals and our resentencing was based on a case, Atwell versus State. And what Atwell did was bring us to a bigger decision, which was Miller versus Alabama. Miller versus Alabama was the case in the United States Supreme Court that said that no juvenile should get an automatic life sentence. And certain rights were granted to a juvenile homicide offender. And then even though we were serving parole eligible sentences.
Let's talk, because first there was juveniles cannot be put to death.
Right.
Then it was juveniles do not get life sentences.
Yes. To start all the way from the beginning, it was like this. There was Roper versus Simmons in 2005, where the United States Supreme Court said that the death penalty was unconstitutional for juveniles, that a natural life sentence would take the place of the death penalty. So then, yes.
And from a mental health point of view, this all has to do with the science and the research about the developing brain of the adolescent. Yes. Their brain is not developed enough to understand the gravity of their behaviors and what is going to occur due to their behaviors. And that has to, from the mental health, is the prefrontal cortex.
Right. Well, do you want to make this, do you want me to start over and just start from the whole juvenile perspective, or do you want me to just, because
I like where you're going. I like being able to jump in and give some clarification.
Gotcha.
Because I'm the person that has very little legal background, so sometimes y'all talk like with that knowledge.
Right.
And so like me as somebody that has not dealt with the legal system in this way, sometimes it's like, okay, so let's explain this. Because for you, it's just like the base already. You already have that knowledge.
Yes.
Well, I know I didn't.
Right. Okay. Well, once Roper came out, once the Roper decision came out, and they defined a natural life sentence as the death penalty for juveniles, well, then all the non-homicide juvenile life sentences, those guys were like, hey, wait a minute. Now you're saying I got the equivalent of the death penalty and I didn't kill anybody. I don't have a capital crime. So Graham versus Florida, Graham comes out, and that was when this United States Supreme Court said that no non-homicide, that means no robberies, no burglaries, sexual batteries, any crime with the exception of a murder should not get a life sentence. Okay. And then Miller came behind, and Miller was the one where Miller versus Alabama, the United States Supreme Court said that all juveniles have to be seen individually and they could not just get rubber stamped, because in the United States, prior to Roper, even a juvenile, if you got found guilty, the only penalties were life or death.
Or death.
That's it. So once they took death away, it was just automatic life.
It's
Every
only life.
juvenile was automatic life, automatic life, automatic life. So they said, no, it can't be automatic because every juvenile is different. Every crime is different. So the judge should be granted the opportunity for an individual sentencing process. Well, that was all well and good for the guys who did not have parole eligibility. In Florida, parole eligibility for murder cases stopped in 1994. So there's actually two classes of homicide offenders in Florida. There's the ones that are parole eligible and the ones that are not. And here comes Atwell versus State, because Atwell versus State established that the parole system in Florida is so flimsy, and if you want to say flamsy, because it'll be a flim-flam, then that there was no meaningful opportunity for a guy to get out.
Mhm.
So they said, you know what? All you guys that are parole eligible in Florida, juveniles, we're just going to pick you up, your whole class, and lump you in with the non-parole guys and let you get resentenced too, because you're not getting a fair deal from the parole commission. It's obvious. And that was Atwell versus State in 2016. Well, then two major events happened.
Wait,
One, yes.
can I throw something out? Just as a, I remember giving you the news about Atwell.
Yes.
Miss John
It was on my
gave me
birthday.
the news. Yeah, Miss
was-
John gave me the news and said, go tell the
Right.
floor. And I was like, okay. And you were like, yes.
It was on my birthday,
Great
May
birthday,
26,
birthday
2016. That's right. It was on my birthday. And then approximately 455 inmates in Florida prisons were parole eligible and were Atwell cases. So we were all suddenly eligible to be resentenced and maybe go home. Well, then two major things happened in the interim. One, well, actually three. One, the laws of Florida required the Supreme Court justices to retire at a certain age. And at the time of Atwell, there was a 4-3 majority for the liberals in the Florida Supreme Court. Well, Governor DeSantis, when 3 of those liberal judges had to retire, replaced them all with conservatives. So now the conservatives have a 6-1 block in the Florida Supreme Court. And then what happened in Virginia, there was a guy named LeBlanc, and he was attacking the Virginia parole system. And if you'll recall, I talked about the legal system being a wedding cake with the circuit court, the appellate court, and the state Supreme Court at the top. And then the candles on the cake would be the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, what LeBlanc did was he was going through his processes, the circuit court, the appellate court, the state Supreme Court, and then he obviously got some bad information, because instead of going from the Supreme Court of Virginia to the U.S. Supreme Court, he took a lateral step and he filed a federal Hague to appeal the Virginia Supreme Court decision. And it was denied because you can't do that. It's not designed that way. You know, if you're exhausting your appeals throughout the state, once you exhaust all your state remedies, you go straight up. Where if there is no means to attack your problem in the state court, then you have to start in the lower districts of the federal court. Well, what he did was he went from the Virginia Supreme Court and he took a sidestep. And when he took that sidestep, the federal court said, this is denied. You don't have jurisdiction. Well, he appealed the jurisdictional argument only to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, we do not have jurisdiction. We have to deny this based on a jurisdictional argument. However, if you would have brought this the right way, there is argument to be had on both sides. But we cannot hear the facts because you did not bring it the right way. You can't get in the Supreme Court through the back door or the side door or the window. You have to go in through the front door. And he did.
Yeah.
Well, then our newly impaneled, I almost said communist, conservative bloc in Florida Supreme Court, they jumped at the chance. They said, ooh, 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 the U.S. Supreme Court just denied LeBlanc, and he's got parole in Virginia, and we've got parole in Florida, even though no two parole systems are the same. But they've got parole over there. We've got parole over here. If their parole is good, our parole is good. So they said, we are receding from our decision in Atwell, which violates a precept of law called stare decisis. Stare decisis is the reason why every time a new judge comes in power, he can't just rewrite the law books.
Rewrite everything.
Once a decision is made, it becomes precedent. And the only way that you can address it again is if the fundamental elements of the decision have changed. And none of the fundamental elements of the decision in Atwell versus Florida changed. None of them.
Nothing.
Atwell versus State was still controlling law. However, the Florida Supreme Court said, this is what they said. Let's rewrite the law book. And that was what they did. So here comes a case called Michelle versus Florida, Michelle versus State. And
I need a lawyer, right?
Michel. Some people say Michael, some people say Michelle, some people say Michelle, whatever. But this guy,
that was me for a minute. I was like, what the hell did I do?
Well, this guy comes through and he's got a parole issue, and they didn't get a majority. They got a 3-1-3, which is kind of like a stalemate, right? It's a plurality, and a plurality is a non-binding opinion. So guys were still filing under Atwell. Now, let me also say this. During the Atwell era, a lot of guys were pending resentencing, and their lawyers and the prosecutors were just dragging ass because there was no pressing need to get it done. The same prosecutors that were assigned to the Atwell resentencing cases are the same prosecutors that had pending prosecutions going on, where they had hot witnesses and they needed to get these cases resolved, and other guys had speedy trial claims. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on, and the Atwell cases kept getting pushed back. So then comes a case, Franklin versus State. And in Franklin versus State, they got the majority that they were looking for in the state of Florida in the Supreme Court, and they reversed their decision, the prior decision in Atwell. And that resulted in all the juvenile homicide offenders, or most of them, who were pending resentencing in county jails, talking to their families, planning to come home, ready to move on with their life, all got sent back to prison. Summarily denied. Not even a chance to speak, just sent back.
Yeah.
And that's a travesty. I mean, it is a complete miscarriage of justice. Now, that brings us back to Jackie Lee Cogdell. Jackie Lee Cogdell was a guy who his judge said, no, I'm going to resentence this guy. And the state said, well, we're going to appeal. So they have been appealing, trying to get Jackie Lee Cogdell back in prison. And all of a sudden, yesterday, it comes out over the wire that the state dismissed their appeal in the interest of justice, is what they said. Now, call me cynical. Yeah, call me cynical, but what I think is that they had a feeling that it was going to go Cogdell's way on appeal. And see, once a decision comes out on appeal, it becomes binding. Unless they're in the state of Florida, of course, and they want to fuck that around like they did Atwell, but it's supposed to. It's supposed to become binding. And I feel that they may have fallen on their sword to stop that from happening, because now there is no
open the doors. Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm going to show you guys. First of all, let me say this. I've got a new laptop. I'm trying to figure out all the kinks in here, so I don't know how this is going to work out. However, if it goes how I want to go, I want to show you guys something right now. This picture I just showed you is a picture of a very, very, very close and dear friend of mine. I consider him my family. His name is Michael Glover, and it's a picture of him and his wife, Tish, in a visitor park in prison. And Michael Glover is almost just like me, and he's almost just like Barry, and he's almost just like Revis, the other guy you see with us when he's here. I say almost because Michael Glover was a juvenile when his crime was committed. Michael Glover had put in for his resentencing, and he was going through the process. And again, there lacked any urgency because, you know, the thought was the law was on our side and it wasn't going to take, you know, more than it was going to take. And then be patient. You know, you've waited this long, you can wait a little longer and you're going to be free. And right in the middle of that, all these other decisions come in the state of Florida and they reverse themselves. Right. And I'll just say that's when the fuckery started, and we'll leave it like that. And we'll leave it like that. That's the fuckery. And now Glover is still in prison. And for those of you who watch this show, and for those of you who watch my channel at Listless Genius TV, you are going to grow to know Glover's face, because I am going to make sure that it's part of our show every week, every day, every time, until Michael Glover is free. Because he deserves the chance to be resentenced just like the rest of us got. And he deserves the chance to be resentenced just like the rest of us do, because it was taken from them. And I understand. Yes, Michelle? And
just my 2 cents. Michael Glover is an awesome person. Yeah. He is somebody that when I needed help with somebody, he helped me with somebody. He helped somebody. There was somebody that didn't speak much English, had no familiarity with the prison system. And I said, go find Michael Glover. Because I trusted Michael Glover, that Michael Glover wasn't going to take advantage of him, that he was going to help them. He wasn't going to charge him for protection, none of that stuff. And Michael Glover approached me on the compound and said, Miss Fortier, did you send this person to me? I said, yes. I said, because I trust you. He said, I'll help him. No problem. Yeah. And that speaks volumes about who he is as a person.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's a person I care a whole lot about, and I want to see him have the chance to be free. I want to see everybody have the chance to be free that they deserve. And I get it, right? Listen to me. I get it that we are all convicted of terrible crimes, right? I understand that. And all I want for him and all I want for the rest of the juveniles in the state of Florida is the fairness that the law demands. You know what I'm saying? We are supposed to be a society based on civilization and based on culture and based on understanding. So if we embrace our laws, we embrace our laws completely. And if you want to change the law the right way. Don't just bogart it. Don't just take it. Don't just debo it when you have the numbers. And right now I'm talking to the Florida Supreme Court, basically, because that's what they did. They took it. They took it from these guys. They took it from guys. They took it from Michael Glover. They took it from Tish Glover. They took it from Glover's family. And they took it from a lot of other guys' families who were back in the county jail making these plans. Hey, Waldo, and trying to move on with their lives as the law said that they could and as the law said that they should. And then it was taken. And the truth is, it's just a matter of capriciousness. Some guys' attorneys got it done fast. Other guys' attorneys got it done slow. I was a guy that was on the precipice because I was in limbo. And my trial judge ruled in my favor and said, no, that this is an untimely appeal by the state. They should have done this appeal earlier on, because, and he was very compassionate and he ruled in my favor. And for that reason, I'm here right now. If not, I could be back in jail with Glover right now. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so
I got lucky. I got lucky and moved kind of fast, which fast is like a year, but
yeah,
I moved kind of fast. And a lot of people were like, hey, I wouldn't take that deal, this and that. Right. And I'm like, hold up, man. But I understand the system, and I know that, man, things change, and they're not usually for the best, you know. So when something good happens, or you jump on it and do, like, you know, the route I had to take, I had to go back to prison for a year, which I only did like 6 or 7 months. you know.
Hold on a second, Barry. Start again. You went to prison for a year?
Oh yeah, I had to go back to prison for a year, but I only did like 6 months, you know,
Right.
and got out because of the
Those
conditions
of you,
of my sentence.
yeah, let me jump in here. For those of you who don't know, Barry and I were in the county jail together when it was time for us to be resentenced, and we were in the county jail together in the beginning when we both caught our cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when Barry got pushed through very quickly, it's because he accepted a deal that would return him to prison for a period of time, and then he would go home. And a lot of the guys that were in there with us were like, oh, Barry, that was dumb. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And Barry and I sat in the room, and he said, man, I took the deal because I just want to get out of here right now because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. And when the law changed, Barry's words were the ones that rang the truest, because you never know what's going to happen. You know, and there's a lot of guys, if they could have, they would have got it done fast. I mean, who wouldn't say, well, I'd rather have 4 years left in prison than the rest of my life? And they just couldn't get their cases pushed through because it didn't have any urgency. When I was represented by the public defender's office, I was getting rescheduled and set off and delayed before I even made it to the courtroom. It was like automatic. Your Honor, and they never even let the prosecutor ask for a continuance. It was defense continuance, defense continuance, defense continuance, you know? And there's a lot of guys that ended up, and then what do they do? At the end, they say, oh, I never thought this would happen. I guess you just got to pack your stuff and go back to prison. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or, oh, I feel really bad about it. And they almost shed a tear for you. And then they're off to the next guy. Yeah, they're off to the next guy.
Much good when you're back in prison.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys. I mean, I could name them. I could name the guys. Jason Dennis, he got denied. Leroy Davis got denied. Hegwood, but Hegwood actually got resentenced. The other guys never got a chance to be resentenced.
Yeah, they didn't get resentenced.
No, they never got a chance. Yeah, it's crazy, man. So that's and I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going to say you have no right to ask for justice. Well, number one, people do have an opportunity to improve themselves. And number two, a lot of these guys were really, really young and really dumb when they committed their crimes. And I realized that we have all the frontal cortex. And I realized that we all made a terrible, terrible mistake. And a lot of people don't make that mistake. And there's no excuse, because a lot of people go through difficult childhoods and never kill anybody, right? Never get involved in this type of thing. And that's cool. However, the people who crafted these laws and made these decisions understand that there are variables that young guys have difficulty dealing with and making the proper decisions. And all that went into these original decisions that were made by the high court. So
and this is supposed to be a country of second chances.
That's right. And I realized that none of our victims got justice. I get that. None of our victims got justice. You know, none of them did. None of them. None of them deserve to die. None of them deserve what they got. And that's just the truth of it all. And it will always be the truth. However, there is another truth. And the truth is that there is a crime being perpetrated against these juvenile homicide offenders in the state of Florida every day. Every day, that there's reasons for rules like stare decisis. There's reasons for rules like legal precedent. There are reasons that all these things exist. And the state of Florida Supreme Court is just rolling over them roughshod and doing whatever the hell they want to do. And they're erasing great leaps and great strides that were made in the state of Florida in the criminal justice system. They are erasing that now, and with a swiftness that I find very disturbing. And
though
that
a lot of people probably don't care.
Right.
A lot of people probably don't care about that decision because they feel like they deserve to be in there.
Right.
But understand that once they do it on that level, it's just a matter of time before they start doing it to other things that have already been existing that affect your life in a daily basis.
Right. And what I want to do right now is I want to bring this back to where we started. And that is, for those of you who have been in prison and who understand what prison is and who have the right to vote and have the privilege to vote, get out there and use it, man.
Please,
Get out there
I
and use
beseech
it.
you.
Help people bring about the change that we need here in the state of Florida by voting. Yes, Michelle.
And not just for the president. You have to vote in your local elections.
That's
In
right.
To
terms
me,
of
that's the most
criminal
important.
justice, those are your most important. Your judges, your public defenders. Those are the ones that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are the most important if you care about
Sure.
criminal justice issues.
Yeah.
That's right. Because
Congress is,
in the military, they call it boots on the ground. Boots on the ground means that the people are there fighting, you know, our soldiers. And for us, the immediate battles have to be fought in your local elections. Vote for the
That's
right
the key.
judges. That's right. Vote for the right
Volunteer.
judges. Vote for the right state attorneys. Vote for the right public defenders. If you want your voice to be heard, vote for the people who speak in the voice that you want to hear.
yeah.
You gotta
Oh,
vote.
another thing we discussed yesterday, and I was informed about, was that they have an initiative on the ballot called "Keep It Clean," which sounds like, hey, might be want to keep it stay clean or something, but it's not. It's a initiative to try to stop the people from putting things on the ballot. Says they're making it so instead of having one petition, you have to have two. So be careful of that, because sometimes you don't know what it is. Keep it clean. That sounds nice. You check yes. Please do not vote for that, because now they're trying to take it right to the people to put things on the ballot.
Right. Because what they're saying is that now that the people, because they saw they voted for the Amendment 4, now they're saying,
exactly.
that's right, they don't want that to happen again. So the politicians basically are saying that the people of the state of Florida are too dumb to vote for the things they want. However, these are the same people that voted for the politicians. So the politicians are saying, you were smart enough to vote for me, but you're too dumb
But
to
you're
vote for
stupid on
anything else.
everything else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So beware of that, and those tricky, nice words they put out there. Keep it clean, because it's not keeping it clean. That's dirty fighting all the way around.
And
I
maybe
just
we
want to
need
put that
to,
out there.
when we get the paper, the fake ballots that have everything so you can take it to the polling place, we might want to go over what each of those amendments mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know it takes a lot of research. Me and my husband,
Yes,
we
it
sit
does.
down and we
Yeah.
look at each of them, we read them, we look at the pros and the cons, but I highly doubt most other people
Anybody
are
else
that
does it.
invested.
Yeah. Yeah.
All righty.
That definitely needs to happen.
We're down to 2 minutes. So I'd like to give a brief recap here. And I want to say that I want all the juvenile homicide offenders who were granted resentencing under Atwell versus State and then had that resentencing privilege taken away by Franklin versus State here in the state of Florida. I want them all to have the chance to be free, and I want Michael Glover to come home. So you'll hear me say free Michael Glover a lot in the shows that come, because I am going to make it my personal responsibility to make sure that Michael Glover is not forgotten and that Michael Glover is a person that people think about as much as I can. So if you've liked this episode, please check out our other episodes and press like. It's the YouTube mantra: press like, subscribe, push the little bell, give us a comment.
And share.
There.
Yeah, and share. And look,
Got
man,
it,
give us a
Barry.
comment. Give us something to talk about, because we're going to be here, and one of these days, you're even going to get to hear what Barry has to say. So.
Yeah.